Hi there, and welcome to podcast 2. Paul Murdoch here. I only began writing books in earnest about 10 years ago. An accident really, when my son fell ill on holiday. It was then that I began telling him stories at night, beside his bed. And during one of those stories he said, "Dad, stop." I said, "What is it, son?" He said, "It's your stories, Dad." I said, "What's wrong with the stories?" He said, "They're rubbish." I said, "Thanks a bunch. What do you mean they're rubbish?" He said, "Well, you keep forgetting where you left off, Dad. Write them down." So I did. And 5 months later I had my first book, I guess, which was called The Magic Scales and is now called Talisman. I now have 5 children novels, with one on the way, 5 picture books and 2 thrillers, with another one on the way there too. Interestingly, I was told by a Vale man, Richard Holloway, that it would take me about 10 years before I got into the swing of it, and he was right. It's only now that interest is heating up around the books. I've done reasonably well before now, but it's only now that one of my books has been optioned for a film, and another held up as a possible candidate for a Scottish Children's Book Award. I often feel a bit of a charlatan here, as my background was science, not the arts. I struggled to get a C in my English. It simply didn't interest me. This may be a boy thing, I'm told. Recently, a lady teacher suggested that boys only budge when inspired, whereas girls want to do well in most things. I can't say too much about the film deal yet, as the ink is still drying on that option, but there'll be a bit of a media blast later on this year. An option means that I've given a Scottish film company, in this case, the right to make my script/story into a film in the next 2 years. Even if it doesn't happen, I get to keep the option money. However, that isn't the main thing for me. Here, it's a learning curve. Hopefully, I'll hone my script writing skills and get into the film industry loop. Pre-production meetings and screenplay rewrites begin as soon as the 1st of March. That new children's book I mentioned, the one that's on the way, is called Sunny. Strident Publishing are working hard to launch it the same day as I do the I Write Book Festival event at the Royal Concert Hall on the 17th of March. The event, by the way, is at 3 p.m. that day, and I'll be joined on stage by the Reverend Ian Miller and Strident Publishing owner Keith Charters for a discussion on sectarianism. Is Glasgow a divided city no more? That's the title of the chat. The book, you see, is set in the early 70s and is semi-autobiographical, and well, it is in a way. It's mainly an adventure story, I guess, that will appeal to all ages, but the backdrop and the times will certainly make for some discussion. Anyway, enough of me blabbering on for today. For info on the books, festivals, and even music and things like that, hit the website and all the W's, paulmurdoch.co.uk. I'm off to Holm this week to play a few gigs and to tee up some book activities with my publishing hat on. Next time I'll talk about my publishing house and about some of the authors I'm lucky enough to be associated with and some of the projects coming up. Bye for now.